Alright friends, welcome back to another video. So, in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you a mega life update. What I've been growing through, what I've been learning, and honestly, I feel that this video is so long overdue. Like, it honestly feels like it's been 2 or 2.5 years since I've caught you up in what's been present for me, what's been up in my life. And so if I'm being totally transparent, there's been quite a heavy amount of procrastination with this video, and it's like, it's because there's no real way for me to possibly catch you up in the past 2.5 years of my life in one YouTube video. Even if this was an hour long, it just wouldn't be possible because so much of the last 2.5 years of my life honestly can't even be put into words. In this video, I'm going to do my absolute best to give you a rundown on various different areas of my life. So spirituality, physical health, emotional health, relationships, career, kind of like the big areas. So let's get into it.
One eternity later.
So first things first is the past 2.5 years of my life have been very different than the last handful of years that I've been sharing my journey on social media. The difference here is that the last couple of years have been much more focused on slowing down, being present, processing emotions, and again, this theme of slowing down and just being here. Whereas prior, I was definitely on a trajectory of go, go, go. The more that I do, the more that I am, which is an old paradigm. That's what I've noticed, at least, is that most of us were raised being taught that our worth is based on our performance. And so I kind of refer to, like, before the last 2.5 years as like a past life, essentially, like a past version of me, a past way of operating. And in the past 2.5 years, I have been led to energy work. I've gotten a lot of questions about what the heck is energy work? Is it Reiki? Is it something else? Like, what are the modalities used? And I'm gonna go into all of that in another video because that's a whole freaking journey. But what I want to share with you today is that for me, having weekly energy work sessions for the past couple of years has been so supportive for me to notice what patterns I was operating in before and what patterns I'm operating in now, and how those patterns could have been keeping me small. Those could have been patterns that came from my childhood, from the way that I was raised, from the things that I was exposed to, that I learned, essentially patterns or ways that I learned how to protect myself and keep myself safe. And what I've noticed in my own life and my friends and honestly everyone that I connect with is that there's been this collective theme where the patterns, the things that were subconscious, the things that were under the rug have recently been exposed, and they're continuing to be exposed. And so a lot of my, what you could call spiritual work, but I don't feel it's necessary to put a label on it, a lot of my life experience in the last couple of years have been noticing patterns, noticing thought processes, noticing emotions, and being present with what is here. So instead of suppressing everything because I've got to go, 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 accomplish, do, create more, be more, all of this, it's like I've turned that completely upside down and I've been operating differently. And so an example of what that could look like is like, I feel really stressed in this moment, really stressed. And instead of showing up on Instagram or YouTube, I'm actually gonna put that to the side and prioritize the emotional experience that's present for me. So that's kind of an example of what I've been diving into in that realm. Let's see, what else? Ooh, bringing awareness into my physical body. So first and foremost, I highly recommend this book called The 5 Personality Patterns. I'm gonna link it in the description below. And one thing that I've recognized is that one of the patterns that I definitely took on as a child and brought into adulthood was the leaving pattern, meaning when shit gets stressful, I am out and dissociating out of my body. And that's like a protection mechanism. And so part of the work that I've been doing has been bringing my awareness into my physical body. So I've been doing a lot of body scans, which is essentially becoming aware of how my hands feel, becoming aware of how every part of my body feels, bringing awareness back into the body so that I'm more actually embodied and claiming this human body. So you may be familiar with everything that I'm talking about, or you may be like, what the fuck are you saying? Like, you've never talked about this stuff before and I've never heard of this. Great. Either way, either you're resonating and you're like, yes, I've been on this path too, or you're like, what is this? And I will be exploring and sharing more about this in future videos, but this is kind of just a little overview. Dissolving conditioned identities. This has been fun. I think this first started from when I first shifted my diet, eating plant-based to then all of a sudden eating carnivore, and then to then not having any label at all. And I recognized that I had this identity that was so wrapped up in veganism. Like, I am vegan. That is my identity. That is who I am. That is the role that I play in the world. And once I stopped eating a vegan diet and living a vegan lifestyle, then I was in this void of, okay, well, I'm still existing, so clearly that's not what I am. Well, then what am I? And so it's been a beautiful journey of discovering on a deeper level, I am pure awareness. We are all pure awareness. I'm noticing right now that I'm talking to a camera. I'm noticing right now that I'm wearing a black shirt. I'm noticing right now that I'm getting a little hungry, and yet I am not hunger. I am not hungry. I am not girl with black shirt. I am not a YouTuber. It's just I'm witnessing this experience. And so another practice I've been exploring is being a loving witness versus a judgmental witness. So instead of judging myself with this intensity of having to be a certain way and making things right or wrong, it's just, no, I'm just curiously observing from a loving place, accepting all that is and just noticing. So to kind of wrap this spiritual section of the life update up, that sounded so weird, to wrap the word, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Essentially what I've been practicing is not just primarily operating from the mind, from this mental construct, but expanding my awareness outside of my mind. So the mind is still doing its thing, the body is still doing its thing, and my awareness is filling my body and including all. So more of this, what can be called an awake awareness state versus just in the mental construct. Okay, moving on to life update in the realm of relationships. So this intertwines very closely with spiritual connection for me because I'm learning through the intimate relationships in my life. The people closest to me are mirrors for me. And so I am like, maybe you knew this about me, maybe you didn't, but I am like very much a relationship person. What I mean by that is I love learning from the people around me. So some of the things that I've been practicing in my relationships that have been so supportive and expansive for me have been practicing receiving support. So in the old paradigm, in my old life, I used to try to do everything on my own, be independent as fuck, and wear that like a badge of honor. Comment down below if you can relate to that pattern. So something that I've been exploring is, oh, what does it look like for me to step out of that identity of needing to do everything on my own and getting more comfortable with trusting others to support me when I'm having a hard day, or something would just be a lot easier if somebody else was to help me, whether it's in my business or hanging something up in the home or being there to help me process an emotion or to talk through something. Like getting more comfortable with the people close to me for me to extend and ask and request support and to be able to receive that a little bit more and more as time goes on. I've also been practicing nonviolent communication on a deeper level within my intimate relationships. If you haven't heard of nonviolent communication, I'll also share a resource for that down below, which has been so helpful. I like to kind of describe nonviolent communication as this super simple method for cutting through the bullshit in communication. So like cutting out the assumptions, cutting out the judgments, cutting out the stories, and just getting straight to the fact of what happened and what it is you're desiring and how to communicate that in like the clearest way possible that the other person can receive without their guards going up. So very, very powerful. Another, I've been practicing being seen in vulnerability, and that kind of goes hand in hand with asking for support. But I noticed that a couple years ago, I was doing this thing. I was like in this pattern where I would just like let out any emotions like anger or sadness by myself in privacy, and then go to somebody else and say like, hey, here's what I was just going through. And that was like this first step towards like being seen in a more vulnerable state, was like, okay, I'm gonna do it on my own and then I'm gonna come and talk to you about it. That was like a huge step forward from just doing everything on my own in privacy and not talking about it. But then there was this other step forward of like, oh, but what would it be like if I actually let my boyfriend see me cry, or allowed my boyfriend to see me super angry? Same thing with my best friend, and again, people close to me that I feel really safe with. So practicing all of these things of like stepping out of this identity, being more vulnerable here with people that I feel safe with. Ooh, okay, here's an interesting one. I have noticed in the past couple of years that my circle of friends and acquaintances is full. Like it is maxed out in a really beautiful way. I feel so grateful to be able to say and notice like, wow, I've got my tribe. Like I've got my soul fam. I've got my support system. I've got my mentors. Like I am good in the relationship area. And since I'm such a people person, when I meet somebody new and I feel this like, oh, I want to be your friend and they want to be my friend, I've chosen to be more discerning with the space that I have in my life. And so that has also led me to setting healthy boundaries, communicating more clearly, and reinforcing boundaries when needed. I feel like I could do a whole freaking video series on setting boundaries and reinforcing boundaries in all these different types of relationships and dynamics, because there's so much to dive into in that area, but I'll just keep it simple for now. Okay, moving on to physical health. Oh boy. Okay, so let me just be totally real with you. I've been in an interesting place with physical health for the last couple of years. What I mean by that is, you may have known that previously I was weightlifting consistently every single week, like 3 or 4 times, for 7 years straight. About 2.5 years ago, and I keep referencing this like 2.5 years, but there was just a lot that changed for me during that time. So I ended up taking a step back from consistently exercising. And to be totally honest, the past couple of years of my life have been the most sedentary probably ever, which has been very interesting for me. I feel like there was a big learning in it for me for a while of like, hey, let me drop that identity of I am this person who works out this many times a week and I am a fitness person. Like, what would it be like for me to start going on slow walks or like little hikes with Silo versus like clicking into that identity? So that was kind of just something that I intuitively felt called to stop doing. Then I got to a point where I was like, oh, I'm pretty weak. Like I've lost a lot of muscle and I don't feel strong in my body. And something to go hand in hand with this is my diet has been like, I've gone through this such an interesting thing with diet in the past couple of years where I started to become avoidant. This is my interpretation of it, is like I started to become avoidant of diet in general, of food in general. So like eating less, not being enthusiastic or excited to like make healthy meals, still eating pretty healthy, like not eating gluten or processed sugar, not really eating dairy too often, eating a balance of different things. But I lost my passion for food, like big time. And in the last couple of months, it started to get to this point, same thing with exercise, where I was like, I don't feel that healthy. Like I would love to have a more healthy relationship with food where I feel excited to prepare something healthy for myself and I feel this connection with food again. And as with everything, I've learned a lot from this, and I feel that this phase of feeling more avoidant and disconnected has been part of the journey. It's almost like the pendulum swung so fucking hard to being obsessed with food, vegan this, vegan that, carnivore this, like trying all these different things, and then went all the way to the other side of like, I don't give a fuck. I'm just gonna eat because my body needs food, but not like in this like really beautiful, healthy way. So that's the reality. Curious if anyone can relate to that. And I was doing like some research online. I was like, what is this? Like, is there a name for what I've been experiencing? Because it's not intentionally avoiding food, but it's almost like it was a subconscious avoidance of like, I don't know if that makes sense, but that's the reality. And then a couple of weeks ago, I went on this hike with some friends, and I had this moment where I felt like I was gonna pass out. And it was very like impactful moment for me, because it was like all of a sudden this was in my face, this reality of like, ooh, I haven't been nourishing myself, I haven't been building muscle, and I haven't been like eating enough food. And I'm just noticing in this moment there's like vulnerability in sharing that, just because anybody can interpret that as they wish, but I just want to share like a genuine update. So that was a couple of weeks ago, and since that was such an impactful moment for me of like, oh wow, this is really where I'm at. Like, yes, in the past I've hiked 1,000 miles on the Appalachian Trail. Yes, in the past I used to have all these healthy meals and like have such this close relationship with it, but here's where I'm at now. And so it was an awakening moment for me. And the past few weeks I've been back in the gym 3 times a week. I've been making healthy meals for myself and feeling so much better. So it wasn't until that moment where I was like, oh, okay, this is the moment, that has turned around in the other direction. I'm happy to share that now I'm on a beautiful path and in a beautiful place right now with my nutrition and my fitness getting stronger. So yeah, I think this is the last category that I feel called to share, which is about career and soul mission. The first thing is that you guys have probably noticed I've been a bit less active on social media, and that kind of comes all the way back to the beginning of this video where I was sharing that I've been prioritizing processing my emotions and being present with my unraveling and healing and releasing past identities and conditioning, and like that's been my priority. And so with that, there's been this deep honoring of where I'm at and a little bit less bypassing that to show up to do this thing. And it's been like beautiful but also difficult, because I love our connection here that we have, and I love sharing and documenting. Ooh, this is so important. So what I've noticed is that in the past, like in my past life, years back, it was really easy and natural for me to document because I was sharing about fitness and food that I was eating and mindset things, and it was more external. In the past couple of years, my journey has been deeply internal, which I'm sure that many of you can relate to. And so there's been this vulnerability, and there's been this like privacy that I've needed to go through that. I think that I might have mentioned this in my turning point video, where I've been like bumping up against like, no, this is like your thing to go through and you will share in time. So that's one thing with career, is like it definitely used to be my first priority of like financial freedom, creating, connecting, business. And in the past few years, it hasn't been. So what I've noticed is that now I'm coming back. It's like the pendulum thing in like so many different areas of my life. It's like I swung all the way that way, all the way that way. And now I'm like, okay, let's anchor into the middle. Let's anchor into the balance here. So the one thing that I have been very consistent with over the last few years, outside of social media, because that's been like up and down, has been coaching inside of my program, Alignment Accelerator. That has been like my anchor through all of this. And it's been a beautiful journey. And I love coaching small groups of women so much. But yeah, outside of that, I've very much been like going to energy work. I started therapy this summer. I did that for a few months. Just really like the inner work has been my thing, which of course has allowed less spaciousness for career. 3 other updates in career. One is I'm finally upgrading my website. It is so many years outdated, and I have taken initiative to create the entire new website. I'm so close to being done, just a few last things. So my goal is to launch that early in the new year. And then 2 other like very alive ideas that I have moving forward. I'm just noticing how dark it's getting outside. 2 other very alive ideas that I have moving forward is, 1, to create a new hub for our community to connect with like-minded individuals, and an opportunity for you to learn from me and grow alongside of me on a deeper level, like more intimacy and more behind the scenes stuff. And so yeah, I have a few ideas on what that's going to look like. It's something that I definitely want to be affordable for everyone, because I recognize that years ago, like, I used to have like ebooks and my coloring book and a lot of offerings that were more financially available for more people. And in the last couple of years, it's been like social media, and then this huge jump to Alignment Accelerator or like a larger investment. And so looking to create something new in that area for our community worldwide. And then another idea that I have is, I'm really feeling called to create some sort of offering that supports you with slowing down, being more present, being in your body, processing emotions, like accessing the energetic field and frequency, instead of, I feel like the past version of me was very much like productivity, how to use your mindset to be more productive, like how to stop procrastinating, how to like blah. That's just like a different way of being, and I feel like I've shared so much on that. And now, as my journey has been taking this different direction of like creating balance between the two, I feel called to share something on that. So we will see how all of that transpires. To wrap this up, I do have a few more updates for you. So I am going to Hawaii very soon, which I'm so freaking excited about. And I've decided I'm not going to full on do Vlogmas, but I am going to start sharing 2 to 3 videos a week in December, which is like way more than I shared this whole year so far. I was closer to like 1 a month. So I'm excited to share more videos with you. I have like all of them planned out already. And as always, if you have any video suggestions, you can put that down in the comments below. So I can't wait to show you like a day in the life in Hawaii, and more like what I eat in a day with tropical food. Also, Luke is going to be joining me in Hawaii for a little bit, and I know that I haven't shared too much about my relationship with Luke on this channel, so he'll definitely be making more appearances in my upcoming videos. I think that's gonna wrap this up. Again, like, there's no possible way for me to cram everything that has happened at all the updates into this video, but this is a start and we're gonna fill in the gaps together. So if you have any questions on anything that I shared here, anything that I didn't share, drop it in the comments below. I'm gonna respond to as many as I possibly can. Give this video a thumbs up if you are so fucking stoked that I'm back on YouTube, going all in here, and for all the videos that are yet to come. I just want to say thank you so much for watching this video, for being here with me, for spending time diving a little deeper, hearing about the updates and upgrades. Until next time, I love you so much.